Hey everybody, Paul McFarland here again. And after the last 2 days of marathon about Chiat and Nissan, and I feel I only scratched the surface, going back into the binder proper, into a section that was called miscellaneous. In other words, it was things from the award books for, let's just say smaller clients or projects that they did and things that inspired me. Now, the first one I'll show you was their Holland America line. The first thing, how to select your first cruise. Once again, this is classic Chiat long copy ads with, inset illustrations and captions and whatnot, and the artist Wilson McLean, who did those illustrations. There was a time in advertising where a certain amount of stuff is done by illustrations. I mean, people who painted and drew on illustration board, canvas, whatever. And Wilson McLean was kind of the artist for Holland America. And it's a very friendly thing. At the same time, they have this gentility. And even they talk about Dutchness. Dutchness, which is really kind of cool. But it's a very warm, friendly, arm around you, kind of welcoming thing, as if you're already on the boat. They talk to you in a certain way, which is another brilliant, brilliant way of taking the essence of what a brand and a company is all about and expressing it in advertising so nicely. And the brochures that were done, and so this was done out of Chiat, New York, I believe, and the brochures that were done for them with all their different destinations with the same artwork. It was Chiat actually working with Keith Bright, the great designer, Keith Bright and Associates, who actually produced that. So they did partnerships with them. Now this next page is really telling you, if you've been watching my series, check this out. There is a full-page newspaper ad that says the ocean liner versus the cruise ship. And you see, it's educational. It's a very friendly, talking to people, really, who've never done a cruise before. And if you are a friendly expert and you can teach people about something in a very friendly way, you get a relationship that is just so nice. And again, this is not about sentimentality, about the ads used to be good in the good old days, and this is not. This is talking about here and now. If you have a brand that needs to educate people, or you've chosen a target audience that is not familiar with your service, how you speak to them, how you write is so important. But here's what's really interesting. There's two ads on here. One by Chiat with the major, from the newspaper ad, the ocean liner versus the cruise ship. And next to that is an old Porsche ad by somebody else. And see that Porsche ad? If you remember, it's done technical paper number whatever. And it's like, this is all rational, even though there's a huge design conceit going on there. And I know what it took to do that type that way. Probably argue with the writer to change one word so you'd keep your shape. But that was just so cold by comparison to what Chiat did for Porsche. But here the ad, the ocean liner versus the cruise ship. Long copy. Again, it's educational. Imagine that as a web page. Okay, I don't know how far we'll go with this. We'll go for a little while longer. Next, oh my goodness, this was Chiat Seattle. Now, how many people remember Chiat Seattle? And the thing is, Chiat Seattle had an account called Alaska Airlines. And unfortunately, this is where black and white Xerox copies do not do justice. But they did things like this. San Francisco is an Alaska city. Yeah, typical fog shot of San Francisco. Very simple. And then this, which is, I always thought was an interesting photograph because who shot it? Does it say here? No, it doesn't. What award annual was that? It didn't list the photographer because it was pretty interesting. It just says, experience the warmth of Alaska. Now, isn't that an interesting headline? Experience the warmth of Alaska. And not if you can tell, but it's a close-up, I guess, of a stewardess or something like that. Really lit, very warm. You can hardly see it. It's really bad. But it was just like reds and oranges coming out of black and a little bit of light in the eye. So it's saying that the staff, the crew, interestingly. So you got a wordplay going from there. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And they did a billboard like this. California, LA is easy. See Alaska Airlines, find it. So it was like coastal, Alaska Airlines going up and down the coast there. And they did TV commercials, boom. And they were all done with Settlemyre. So, it was the Settlemyre kind of commercials. Comedy, distorted wide-angle lenses, interesting characters with funny faces, dry humor, human pain. It's not really important what the scripts are, but that's what they did. And the next thing I'll talk about here, let's see. There's probably enough to go here. I'll do one or two more examples of clients. The other account that Chiat worked on, and this was San Francisco. See, a lot of this miscellaneous in here is the other satellite offices. This was Mothers Against Drunk Driving. MAD. They did this print ad. How to drive when you're drunk. Now, what an interesting headline that is. Makes you want to read it, doesn't it? How to drive when you're drunk? What? How to drive when you're drunk? What the heck? See, a headline. How many people would say, why you should never drive drunk? Well, I don't need to read anymore because you already told me don't drive drunk. But how to drive when you're drunk? Now that's interesting. Writing. And then they did a commercial. Called The Party's Over. And it at the bottom there. It's almost like a night in the life. A guy who's like all drunk and is like, hey, what's going on? Hey, but the cop pulls him over and then suddenly he's brought to jail and he's kind of sobering up and he's like slam, because they're saying zero tolerance of drunk drivers, a real smack in the face. And then this is, typical advertising, whatever, but still it's nice. Bottoms up. Oh, yeah. And you think of any campaign to try and reduce drunk driving. What do you really want to do? Prevent it before it happens. While it's happening, it's too late. You've got to get awareness, either that the state or the city or whatever is no nonsense and you're going to jail, which is sobering, or with billboards and ads like that, just to remind you. Hopefully it just stays in your mind long enough so next time you get around alcohol, you won't drive. It's a very, 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 very tricky, difficult assignment to do. Here's another newspaper ad that said, the new drunk driving law explained. A jail cell. Very simple. The new law, you're going to jail. And most people, the idea of going to jail is like, oh, wow. So that was the thing. Okay, now here's another thing kind of interesting. This was also done out of LA for a short time. Carnation Health and Nutrition Centers. Carnation. Well, that was based in the West Coast, and they had kind of a diet program competing with, Weight Watchers and all. And they had some pretty nice newspaper ads. Again, long text and headlines because, this isn't something you can just say, boom, you want to know more about what you're doing when you're talking about dieting. This headline says, have other weight loss programs made you feel like a yo-yo? Well, obviously. You talk to people who've been through it, lose weight, gain weight. And one that says, in 82 years, we've learned enough about nutrition to fill a store. Because they really did have stores. It was Carnation centers, all about healthy this and healthy that. And this one, which was a really nice one. Have you ever thought about what comes after? See, they're poking fun of all the weight loss things before and after, but then they're making you think about, well, what comes after that? Taps into all the ideas of yo-yoing and the loss and everything, and how they were trying to say it's a lifestyle change with authority, and education and wisdom. But that's what we're going to talk about today. That's just a few, because there's probably 3, 4, 5 more videos to come. Oh boy. Are you sick of hearing about Shy Day yet? I never get sick of it. Of other accounts that are somewhat smaller that, for me, at the time didn't warrant its own tab that we'll be talking about. But what's always there? Great writing, great insights, talking to the world as an individual with respect, even to provoke them a little bit, and exquisite art direction where every headline, every bit of copy, all of the photos are arranged and chosen and crafted with nuance to make the client look better than anything else on the page or on the screen. That's why I love those people. It inspired me to this day to fuss over the details. And honestly, not everybody I work with understands or appreciates fussing over the details, but I do. I'll leave you with this apocryphal story of the cathedral being built in Europe, and there's a worker way up in the rafters, and the guy in the bottom says, "Come on down, let's go." And he says, "Well, I'm still working on this feather on this angel's wing." "Oh gosh, no one's gonna see that." "Oh yeah? God will see it." Yeah, God is in the details, and so is the devil. But I'm just hoping that some of you are enjoying this series, because this is the shit that turns me on. Craft, human insight. And this shows love. It shows love for the person reading it. The biggest problem I have with modern advertising is it doesn't always show love for the person who's supposed to be subjected to it. A banner ad, a TV commercial, whatever. I don't always get the idea that we really care about the person who has to see it. This work says we care about the impression we're making. And that, my friends, is solid adamantium. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.